Hello folks, this is Jeff with the Junkyard Kid channel, and today we're going to be bringing you a video of what's going on in the shop here at J&J Repair and Restoration. So let's flip this camera around and take a look at what's going on. We'll start out by taking a look at this Plymouth Road Runner that we've been working on. Tyler is now the main guy mainly working on this. He's done all the paint work, a decent amount of the final sanding. I had one other fellow working here before that had been doing a lot of the work, but he's down the road. He went on to bigger and better things. So Tyler's taken over, and it's just turning out really nice. The color is called Hemi Violet Metallic. I kind of call it a modernized version of Plum Crazy. Color has a lot of effect to it. It's kind of hard to see. I got a light here. You can kind of see some of the sparkle in it. You get it out in the sunlight and it is just pretty awesome. So we're starting to get more bits and pieces on it. Interior is going to be more or less stock appearing. Newer set of bucket seats, a little better fit, a little better comfort fit, I guess you could say. Going to get vintage air in it. Dakota digital gauges, all that cool stuff. Powertrain wise, it has a stroked 440 out to 505 cubes and a Tremec 5-speed. And a cool thing I found, those of you that are familiar with these Chrysler products know that a lot of the 4-speed cars had what they call a pistol grip shifter. Well, they make one for the 5-speed, so that's just pretty cool. The stroked 440, like I said, that's at the dyno shop. It's getting a Holley Sniper unit, and we had some issues with that. So when we first dynoed it, we did it with an 850 Holley. We're up to 620 horsepower and about 550 foot-pounds of torque. And that's going to be enough to move this down the road just pretty nicely. It will be fun to test drive. This is the rear end we're putting in it. Dana 60. Strange setup. We got suspension's all been redid in this car. It's all QA1 parts. No more torsion bars and leaf springs. We got coilovers all the way around. Excited to see how that's going to work out for the handling. I think that's going to make a pretty vast improvement. We got the whole front K-member and suspension here. And once the engine gets back from the dyno and gets some paint on it, that'll all be getting set in this car. So coming along really good. Goal is to have this back in the customer's hands by this spring, which up here in North Dakota, which by the way, right now we're at about 2 below. Springtime comes in about May. I'll give you a little preview over here of another project we're working on. This is the underside of a hood, as you can clearly see. And that's for a Rambler Marlin that we will be talking about in just a few minutes. But first of all, we got an Edsel to look at. Yeah, I got a lot of them. My dad had the world's largest collection in his salvage yard, and he passed away 21. Most of the salvage yard's gone, but he kept a lot of the Edsels, and I guess now that title goes to me. But this one wasn't one that he had. Ironically, it's something he looked at probably 25, 30 years ago, but I wound up picking up with a couple other Edsels this spring up by Dickinson, North Dakota, and it was a barn find. Yep, that overused term they like to throw out today. But this was actually in an old barn, not some nice Quonset with nice concrete floors and all clean. It was in an old barn, dirty and crusty, and we got it cleaned up a little bit, and turned out that it runs just pretty nice. And it is going to be going home to a guy in Mississippi when we get done. No, we're not restoring this one, just doing some mechanical work, a little bit of interior work. Had been moused out pretty badly, so we got the headliner pulled out, going to replace that. Carpets, couple other odds and ends. Under the hood, What we have here is not the original engine. It's original style. These did have, or were available with what they call the FE Ford engine. And that's what this is in here now. This is actually a 390 out of a 64 Mercury. But when I'm done, it will look deceptively original because we're going to put the stock valve covers, air cleaner, the 4-barrel setup. So it'll look like the Super Express 361 cubic inch V8, but just have a little bit more power. This is another one that this spring will be heading down the road. And yeah, I even got a better gas tank than this. So stay tuned. We'll be having more of that coming up. And speaking of this Road Runner, and talking about that 505 cubic inch big block, I will be shooting some video when we run it in the dyno, so you can look forward to seeing that. And lastly, we have a Rambler Marlin. Pretty unique looking car, especially for a Rambler. Most people think of them, or a lot of people do, as kind of the stodgy, low budget person's car, and they were to some degree, but they did have some pretty cool ones as well, and this is certainly one of them. As you can see, we got a pretty unique looking roof line here, and this is what they call your fastback roof. Those of you that have been around the early Dodge Chargers can certainly see a resemblance. And I haven't dug it out, but laying on the back here are a couple sales posters, and they actually take a jab at the Plymouth Barracuda and the Ford Mustang Fastback in 1965, because they call this the man-size sports fastback, because this is on a lot longer wheelbase than the Mustang or the Barracuda, where you can actually stick two adults in the back seat and go for a little trip without feeling like you're crammed into a shoebox. And got the engine set in this. The last video that was on the stand yet. And I happened to pull up a picture of what this looked like when I brought it in on the computer here. And you can see the hood's a little crispied. And we go here, and that's what the engine bay looked like. Pretty decent fire under the hood. Bad enough where I got into the underside of the dash, as in it destroyed the wiring harness and all that. Got all that replaced. We're not doing any real improvement on it, just getting it back to the way it was per the customer's request. So pretty soon I can hook the battery up and see what all works underneath there like it should, or what I get to fix. And we're down to getting this fired up, which will be happening probably in the next couple days or so. Getting the paint on the fenders and the hood and assembling it. And this is another one that's going to be going down the road actually before this spring. Probably going to be by the end of this month, or maybe early part of next month. So you can stay tuned to watching the progress on that. And we still got that twin turbo small block sitting there. Forgot to mention last time, I usually call this area here horsepower corner, because this is where I have the engine sitting that we work on. I do some engine building as well, so that's another one that we will be enjoying testing once it gets put in the car. So I think that pretty well wraps it up for now. I'll probably bring another one of these to you in a couple weeks or so, and you can see what kind of progress we've made in this stuff. So in the meantime, we'll talk to you later.